much. Morning, everyone. Morning. Something that Rick has wanted to do and something that leadership has talked about is actually finding more opportunities to share testimonies, share opportunities to encourage each other in faith. I know that a few months ago now that we heard that stories of testimony and stories of, I guess, kind of miraculous healing or divine presence on something can sometimes be a bit jarring when we're trying to reach people outside the church. But I know personally that it's one of the most encouraging things that we can hear inside these four walls is stories of victory, stories of God being present in our lives, answers to prayer. And so that's something that I wanted to share with you guys today. So as we get started, I want you to do me a favor, just as I kind of steady myself for the stage as well. I want everyone to just join with me and take a few deep breaths. Do you feel that air going in and out of your body as you take deep breaths? Right now, air is going through your lungs, through a windpipe that's probably about 25 millimeters in diameter. That it fills your lungs, it goes into your blood, your body relaxes. 25 millimeters. For the longest time, I've been exhausted. I have felt the achy pains that have come with being exhausted. I have felt the nausea and the sickness, the migraines and the general unpleasantness that comes with being exhausted. And I have felt the mental fogginess, the confusion, and just the general detachment from reality and feeling out of control of your own body that comes with being exhausted. For a time, both I and those around me thought it was because I was pushing myself too hard. And arguably, before I was lucky enough to join this congregation about 2 years ago, there was a huge element of truth in that. That ever as the young mid-20s man that I am, I mistake myself for being invincible far too often. That I was invincible working two jobs at the same time. I was invincible playing semi-professional basketball at the same time as that. I was invincible studying 2 different degrees at the same time as that. I was invincible volunteering, maintaining a social life and a professional life, taking time for myself. I was invincible doing as much as I possibly could. And I was invincible when my family, the ones that I share a home with, the ones that I sleep in the same house as, noticed that things were off. That I was more tired than usual. That I wasn't sleeping as well. And I wasn't just snoring, but there were times that I would stop breathing altogether. I wasn't invincible when I, at 21 years old, and my family arranged for me to stay overnight at hospital. I wasn't invincible when I was observed for a sleep study. I wasn't invincible when I was told that the reason why I was so exhausted was because I developed chronic fatigue. And the reason why I developed that was actually because even as a mid-20s person in very good shape, I had developed something called sleep apnea. Something often disregarded in the meantime, that it is something that is actually quite common as you get older. But in my case, I was incredibly severe. I wasn't invincible when I was told that I was experiencing 75 to 85 apnea events every single hour I was asleep. I wasn't invincible when I was finding out that those average events for other people would be about 5 to 10, maybe 15 seconds a piece where you might stop breathing for a little while. Mine were going for 15 to 20 seconds, with some going as long as several minutes every single hour. For those who are quick at math, by the way, what we would average out to is 75 to 85 events every hour. 15 seconds is about 20 minutes on the hour that I'm not breathing. That I certainly wasn't invincible when we were connected to a surgeon who had one look at these numbers and said that the only reason that it wasn't worse for me was because I was in good physical shape, but if I didn't pursue major surgery on my face and throat, I would have a heart attack by the time I'm 30, just because of the pressure my body was under. I will always be grateful for God and his perfect timing, which is kind of a weird thing to say after all of that. But if my family and I had discovered this 5, 10 years earlier, we would have actually been too poor to actually do anything about it. That through God's favor on us from the beginning, we were actually in a position where we could do something about this. And so various apnea masks were tried, and much to the concern of the people around me, I would try my best Darth Vader impressions. But they weren't terribly effective. In fact, actually, because of the anatomy of the way things were working, it was actually making it worse. And so we really did have to bite the bullet and go for surgery. The cause of the issue was actually my throat. While you'll have been breathing through windpipes at about 25 millimeters, mine was 3 millimeters in diameter. And during my events, it wasn't that I was restricting my breathing, my throat would collapse. There's no amount of pressurized air from a machine that's getting through that. But do you know what, church? Our God is bigger than all of this. Be encouraged by Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you in my righteous right hand. And so he was bigger than the bad days, that it would take hours for me to get out of bed because I was too tired or just couldn't altogether. He was bigger than the nights at the times at night where I was actually conscious during events and would just have to ride that one out. That he was bigger than the delays in pre-op. It was actually meant to only be about 12 months from pre-op to surgery, and it took nearly 2 years. That he was bigger when 12 months became 18 and then became 2 years. He was bigger than the point where we actually got to be surgery ready, only for the surgeon to tell me the night before surgery we have to delay because he got COVID. And then during a re-follow-up, actually be told that the statistics for the surgery in itself is not a cure. To halve the events is considered success, but a cure is not possible. The goal is to mitigate this. The goal is to reduce the events to an acceptable level and then get you on a machine. That there is no cure. He was bigger than the week of my surgery date, the week where my university actually withdrew me from my medical studies because they didn't view my surgery recovery as a viable reason to skip prac. That the week where my health insurance cancelled because I was technically not a student. That the week where I was actually miraculously able to become a new student, within 2 days enrolled at a TAFE that would actually give me a study that would make me a better pastoral carer, a better aspiring pastor, a better current youth director for you all. A major victory there. Whilst also reinstating my health insurance just days before surgery. And then, like I said, he was bigger than the phone call that we got from my surgeon at about 11 o'clock at night, the night before surgery, saying we have to delay. Joshua 21:45, not one of all of the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one of them was fulfilled. Not once during this time was there room to doubt God, church. At the very start of the journey, God had very much spoken over me, and through people who had been really dedicatedly praying for me, that he doesn't do things by halves. We're going to be 100% healed. Beyond this, he placed people in my life that I will always be grateful for, some of them in this room, who prayed for me and for me, who stayed by my side, who trusted God as much as I had to, who held on to his promises as tightly as a lifeline. And there are so many people in this congregation who have just as diligently prayed for me. And I don't have a choice but to tell you how amazing the news that came from this is. So in response to prayer, God opened a door. We were going to delay the surgery indefinitely. God actually opened a door to be rebooked in record times. And I walked through the doors of St. John's Hospital alone and unafraid in May. I'll spare the squeamish from the details in response to prayer. Both of my jaws and my nose being broken, numerous damaged facial ligaments, and a lot of other squeamish details. Later, I was speaking to people from the point that I woke up from the hospital. In response to prayer, the initial weeks at home that I was promised would be excruciating and about 10 weeks long, I healed in record time in 3. I was off pain meds well and truly ahead of schedule. That in response to prayer, team member after team member of the surgery team was saying, we have never seen a recovery like this before. We don't know what you're doing. We don't know how this is happening, but we have never seen anything like this before. In response to prayer, for the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt awake. And in response to prayer, about 1 month ago at this point, I sat very dumbfounded with an equally dumbfounded surgeon who declared a miracle had happened. I am 100% cured. It is finished. It is done. I am 100% healed with nothing short of the grace of God. In fear of me taking too long on this testimony, especially when we've got amazing guest preachers coming up today, I won't speak much longer, but if you have any more questions, definitely do have a chat. I'm more than happy to have that conversation. But please do feel welcome after the service. I just wanted to share this good news as a way to encourage so many people in this church with a testimony, but also thank them at the same time. There were so many people who were so supportive and so caring and so dedicated to prayer or support on the days that I felt awful, that you have been nothing short of incredible. I declare that the love stands firm forever. You have established your faithfulness in heaven. Psalm 89:2. Thank you.
Thanks, Lockie. God's faithfulness is wonderful.